Hey guys, it's Jefferson from Snakestaff Systems. Today, I want to talk about tourniquets, I want to talk about the history and the mission of Snakestaff Systems, our flagship product, the everyday carry tourniquet, the philosophy behind it, and I would like to introduce you to our second generation of the ETQ. Maybe you heard of us from shows like the Sean Ryan podcast or people like Dom Rosso or Travis Haley. Snakestaff Systems, just to give you a little bit of history, was founded by Ben Griffith and Aria Sorbonne, the minds behind Flux Defense and products like the Flux Raider. The ETQ of Snakestaff Systems was born out of a gap in capability and in the market. So our base demographic was and is the prepared citizen, the EDC guy, the gun guy. You know, he's got the tricked out Glock 19, he's got the sub-second draw from concealment, he's got the dialed in EDC to go with it. But when it comes to medical management equipment, namely the tourniquet, historically, he was confined to one of these two options here, which, don't get me wrong, they're great products and they've saved a lot of lives, but just from a size standpoint, these tourniquets are like the H&K Mark 23 of tourniquets, which, you know, as many of you guys may know, can be extremely difficult to carry on body, especially concealed. So at Snakestaff, what we did is we created the Glock 43X and the Glock 19 as tourniquets. You may be asking yourself, why do I need to carry a tourniquet on body? Why should you carry a gun on body? The answer is the same for both. It's immediate access to the tool. Now, it's not always a gunshot wound, whether it's an open compound fracture as a result of a rollover car crash or a workplace accident. Purely from a statistical standpoint, I am much more likely to need this as an everyday prepared citizen than I am a firearm. But of course, the answer is always carry both. The Gen 1 has saved dozens of lives to date. It is a tried and true, it's a great product, but any great product can be improved upon. The Gen 2 of the ETQ is the result of feedback from professionals in U.S. Special Operations, the U.S. military, civilian EMS, law enforcement, and everyday prepared citizens. We built upon the Gen 1 design and improved literally every aspect and included 3 patent-pending features. Let's get into some of those features. The first one being the power curve, as we call it. So if you examine the bottom of the body here, you'll notice that the slot where you would actually insert the band of the tourniquet is curved, and what that is allowing you to do is it's allowing for an even distribution of pressure as you tighten down that tourniquet band. If this tourniquet had a straight slot, what you might find when you tighten that band down is that you have higher pressures around the outside of the band than you do down the center. What this curve allows for is an even distribution of pressure, so that if I were to, wear this tourniquet for a longer period of time, it would help reduce tissue damage. We are calling this the Grip Windlass. Basically what we've done is we created basically a tri-bevel shape, so that whether I'm self-applying this or buddy applying this, I am getting a solid purchase on 2 flat surfaces that are concave and in opposition to each other. This shape was basically designed around this hand position here. In contrast to other tourniquets that feature a cylindrical style windlass, think about it, it's kind of a less than ideal shape for when surfaces are slippery, when blood's involved. And we found during our R&D process that there are windlasses out there that may be over-texturized, which can rip PPE gloves, which is a big deal because it's important to maintain that barrier that protects you from diseases, which is why we decided to go with geometry over texture. Now let's talk about the ring of power. But actually, this is hands down my favorite feature of the Gen 2. Not only is it providing standoff for clearing the body itself when turning the windlass, but it is providing mechanical advantage, taking the band that's running through the windlass from a position like this to something like this, so that when I apply this, when I twist the windlass, with as tight as this is, I can take a single finger and I can accomplish that first twist of the windlass, which is huge for self-application. We updated the body to help mitigate some of the effects of user error. The only negative feedback we've seen from the Gen 1, we believe, was user-induced error caused by not tightening the band sufficiently enough before turning the windlass. And what was happening is the body of the tourniquet was shifting, so you were having to fight the body shifting and also turn the windlass. And so what we've done is we've routed the inner band through the body itself, as well as lengthened it slightly to help hold it center line, even if it is not tightened sufficiently before turning the windlass. So let's be clear, any windlass style tourniquet can be rendered ineffective if you do not tighten that band sufficiently before turning the windlass. Now, if you look from this angle here, one of the things we changed on the Gen 2 is we've maximize the area underneath the carabiner gate. Gives you more room not only to lock the windlass in place, especially one-handed, but also gives you more room to lock the tail in the gate as well. As for the band material, what we've gone with on the Gen 2 is we've added an additional piece of material, essentially creating a laminate backer to give more rigidity to prevent it from sticking to itself during the application process, as well as giving rigidity if you were to, let's say, thread the needle during the application process. And as I pull this thing open to deploy it, the stronger material gives more memory to make it easier for lassoing limbs. As part of the Gen 2 launch, for the first time we are offering trainers of the ETQ in both the inch and the inch-and-a-half, just like any other trainer, designated in blue to help you differentiate between your trainer and your carry tourniquet. One of the features that is consistent from Gen 1 to Gen 2 is the written instructions, but on the Gen 2 we've screen printed them directly on the label. First and foremost, you should educate yourself on how to properly utilize this device. However, in the worst case scenario, if you were to lose consciousness during the application and a bystander were to come upon you and they didn't necessarily have the knowledge on how to utilize this, all they would have to do is read the instructions or simply scan the QR code and you're taken to a step-by-step instruction video. Now on the Gen 2 ETQ, we've actually opted to eliminate the chem light. The reason being is that whether it was in transit or in a pocket or a bag, some chem lights had a tendency to break prematurely. Like Gen 1, Gen 2 is made right here in America. And with the Gen 2, we've actually decided to bring production 100% in-house, and we've done that for a couple of reasons. Not only does it allow us to maintain stricter quality control standards, but that allows us to build up a larger volume of inventory to be able to meet demand. Just to wrap things up, we are super stoked about Gen 2. We think it's going to change the game. If you guys have any other comments or questions, please hit us up. Thanks for watching.